Alright guys, there have been some media reports out there that China had offered Malaysia some really advanced military hardware. The military hardware in question is the AR3 Multiple Rocket Launch System, which is a highly advanced Chinese artillery system. It's even got a radar with a 200 kilometer coverage. Now, I must mention that this is far more advanced than anything Malaysia has in its inventory. And the best part of all, the Chinese had proposed stationing this missile system in Johor, which is just a short stone's throw away from Singapore. And now the Malaysians have come out and practically denied the entire story and said that, oh, the Chinese didn't come to us with an offer like that ever. But if you know the Malaysians, there's no smoke without fire. And if the report is true, why the AR3 and why just a stone's throw away from Singapore? Aren't you curious to know why? Well, let me guess, it could be something related to the South China Sea, for example. And China had managed to coerce with varying levels of success certain said members of ASEAN into adopting a less hostile approach to their claims of sovereignty in the South China Sea. And they do this through financial kickbacks, through infrastructural development, and also a lot of under-table money. Let's be very, very honest here. And believe me when I say this, China is trying its best to try and get Singapore inside. Why? Because Singapore is set to chair ASEAN in 2018. And so they want to make sure that Singapore won't rock the boat, so to say. And despite the fact that Singapore has a Chinese majority population, it is also a strong friend of the United States and a believer that no one nation in the South China Seas should have sovereignty over the entire area. And Singapore is reputed to be among the least corrupt in the world, and unlike its neighbors, one of the hardest to bribe. So my gut feeling is that it could be true. It could be that the Chinese have offered Malaysia some really advanced military hardware on very favorable payment terms, 50 years I've read, and offered to station it in Johor to sort of intimidate Singapore into towing the Chinese line. After all, if they can't bribe the Singapore government, coercion by military intimidation is the next best thing to do, right? But in this case, the Chinese government have probably overestimated the Malaysian friends. You see, being such a close friend with China isn't a very popular thing in Malaysia. I'm definitely not speaking for all Malays in Malaysia. I mean, not all Malays hold racist, ethnocentric views. But if the Chinese in Malaysia have to be really careful about speaking about any kind of relationship with China, what more would the Chinese expect from the Malays? I mean, even since before the 1MDB scandal became a scandal, everybody knows that Najib Tun Razak, Prime Minister of Malaysia, is a corrupt politician. This is a guy that can be bought by the highest bidder, which hasn't really hurt his political base because they believe that as long as they receive the handouts that he's promised, they are willing to accept a corrupt Malaysian politician as Prime Minister. And I'm not even sure that Najib wants to go there because even being seen as selling out your country to China is political firebomb for him. Already there are people among the opposition party and within his own political party accusing him of doing exactly that. So my take on this is that the reports could be true, but that the Malaysian federal government will not risk political suicide by allowing the Chinese to turn Johor into a military outpost to threaten Singapore. So Singaporeans, you have nothing to worry about, really. So that is all Von Fried Chicken has to say. Peace out.